This is Final Fantasy IV Know the Facts. Today, we're going to look at some of the things you probably don't know about this classic FF title. Let's start things off with a glitch. It's possible for certain copies of Final Fantasy IV to freeze if the player goes back and forth between rooms 64 times. This is all dependent on a counter that tracks the amount of times you enter and exit a room. You can abuse this system in certain places, and the result? It can send you to random places in the game or crash the game completely. The funny thing here is that when Square found out about this, they released an article in the Ogopogo Examiner which wrote off this glitch as a trap created by the final boss, Zeramis. Well played, Square. Well played. Actually, to be honest, pretty shitty attempt to cover your ass. Did you ever read the Old Testament? Final Fantasy IV makes a load of references to it. Apart from the Tower of Babel being an obvious reference, Cain's name also comes from the tale of Cain and Abel, in which Cain becomes jealous of Abel and kills him. This sounds a lot like how Cain betrays Cecil and attempts to kill him. To top things off, Cain's ultimate weapon is also called Abel's Lance. Okay, I just have to add this. The fact is, this was actually a thing! And if that didn't convince you to buy this game, maybe this would have.
Final Fantasy IV いきますPresented by Square.
I'm assuming that the ostrich was supposed to resemble a chocobo. Whatever the case, what the actual fuck? Now, let's talk about Edward. Originally, Hironobu Sakaguchi planned the plot point that after Anna's death, Edward awakens and becomes extremely powerful in battle. However, battle designer Akihiko Matsui persuaded him that a weakling does not stop being a weakling just because his girlfriend dies. So we ended up with an entirely different Edward. And now, it's time for FF4's Hollywood appearance. In the film Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, Scott says he learned the bass line from Final Fantasy II and then plays Battle Theme 1 from Final Fantasy IV.
Where's Knives? Not coming in tonight?
No, we broke up. Hey, check it out. I learned the bass line from Final Fantasy II.
Scott, you are the salt of the earth.
Oh, thanks.
I meant scum of the earth.
Thanks.
And for the record, Final Fantasy IV was the second FF game to hit US shores, so it was titled Final Fantasy II. I mentioned in a previous Know the Facts that FF7 moved to the PlayStation due to the N64's hardware limitations. However, this wasn't just an issue at that point in time. According to executive producer Takashi Tokita, a massive 3/4 of the original FF4 script had to be cut from the Super Nintendo release due to its hardware limitations. On the bright side, at least some of this lost material was reworked into the DS remake. Final Fantasy IV had a ridiculous amount of versions. Throughout the various releases of the game, there has been changes to the script, the difficulty, items, the spell system, and the abilities of the playable characters. Apart from the various Japanese releases and the Final Fantasy II release in the US, FF4 also appeared on the PlayStation, the WonderSwan, the Game Boy Advance, the Nintendo DS, the PSP, Steam, iOS, and Android. These all differ from each other in many ways, but I'll just talk about a couple of them. The US release removed the spells Protect, Shell, and Dispel, as well as Rydia's Cockatrice Summon. The Remedy item also replaced all of the individual status recovery items. Most of the playable characters also had a unique ability removed, such as Cecil's Darkness. There were loads of others, but I want to keep this video as short as I can. The original Japanese release was quite challenging, so much in fact that Square released a second title in Japan called Final Fantasy IV Easy Type. This release makes even more changes to make the game even easier, such as removing or altering spells and lowering shop prices. Other things changed too, such as Zeramis's final form having an entirely new sprite. There was also a shitload of renaming things, such as the Ragnarok being renamed to the Sword of the Gods. If you want every change for every version, you'll have to look it up yourself. I have to wash my hair tonight. Here's one you can try at home. There is a secret passage at the cafe in the Dwarven Castle of the Underworld that leads to a place called the Developer's Room. Here you can get into a number of humorous fights and also meet the developers of the game. This room is present in every version of the game except for FF4 Easy Type and FF2 in the US. This is probably because of the porno that you find, and we all know that the US has a total ban on porn, right? This was Hellfire RPGs. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, check out more of my Know the Facts. See you next time.